Welcome to Hate Clarity. I'm your host, Lindsay, and today we are opening the Akashic Records on black holes. I'm very curious and excited to do this one. Thank you to everyone who voted for it in the poll. Before we begin, if you are interested in personal readings, I know we do topics and lunar cycles and monthly readings here now. But if you are interested in diving into your own personal Akashic Records, you can book sessions through the description box below. I love doing the topics. This is so much fun. I learn so much every single time. So the questions that we're going to ask on black holes are, what are black holes? How are they created? What happens if you go into a black hole? What happens to time if you go into a black hole? What happens to space in a black hole? And then what's the most important message we need to know? Okay, what are black holes? There's like a force that is, they're calling it like whirring, stirring. They're saying like contorting and twisting. It's a force field. It's an energetic force field. I just keep saying energetic. Source of force that they're like pulling and spinning and twisting and turning, like there's, what are black holes? They're like whirring. And there's even like a vibration, like I'm getting a sense that there's a really strong like ooh sound, like vibration that's like in my head. They're giving me the sense of this sound, whirring sound. WHIRRING. That's the word that they're giving me. Anything else? They said to nowhere. To nowhere. This stirring to nowhere. Like nothingness. Absence of light. They're like, it's this force that almost like sucks out life. Like everything just pulls and twists and sucks out, almost like they're like breathe, like they're saying like stirs the breath of life. Anything else? How can the records explain black holes to us? How would they tell a 3-year-old? What are black holes to a 3-year-old? They're just like stirring, whirring force field of like energy, this energetic force. How are black holes created? I just said in the air. Okay. In the skies, in the air. How are they created? I'm getting like this, it's like the idea of what we call wind, but it's not wind. How are they created? Just saying in the air, like up in the air, but it's not air. It's not what we call air. It's not like oxygen air. It's they're like air up in the sky, air up in the sky. How are they created? This force, this like energetic force. They just showed as an example They're saying like the ripple effect of like space elements flying and soaring through the air. They're like different elements up in the air in space than what we call elements. Earth, air, fire, water, right? That's earth realms elements they're saying. They're saying air is a different field. They're like we say gravity, things like this, oxygen, like our elements and elements in space. The elements out there, galaxies, the universe are very different. And they're saying something about acclamation. Like we have no comprehension or acclamation for like what all the elements are. But what they were starting to show me was like as if a shooting star or a comet was racing across the sky, and they're saying like the debris or like the movement or the force, the light, the source of whatever those elements were shooting across the sky almost left like this like spiral or spinning in the up in the air, up in the sky. But they're like space outward, further outward. And they're showing, as another example, when we see in a river the eddy spiraling and spinning, they're like, yes, that's your concept of this spiraling in like a water element of like water, earth realm elements. And they're kind of like that, up in the air, up in the sky. But it seems like, oh, because like we don't have these like gravitational, they're kind of saying like stopping systems almost in space, things almost like, it's like there's this extreme of like things exist eternally, spinning and spinning forever and ever and ever, or like non-existent. Very different understanding, very extreme differences. But it's this sense of like something shooting through the air, a collection, an accumulation, a combination of elements in the air, elements that we are not privy to, they're saying, beyond our comprehension. And they almost like continue spinning, whirring, and stirring in these motions. It's a force field. Okay? They're like cosmic energetic force field. What happens if you go into a black hole? They're like never stop spinning, but also like it feels impossible. What happens if a human, if a person, if a living thing goes into a black hole? They're just saying non-stopping, but there's this feeling of like the earthly realm material forms, our energy beings are non-existent in that space. Like we don't survive to even get there. Like we are not meant for those elements. We are not meant for that space, that spiraling. So it's like almost like this sense of like they're saying elimination, evaporation, like you wouldn't even get there. Like they're showing a reference. What was that show? Where the guy just keeps going up into space at the end and he freezes and he shatters into like a million pieces. They're like that. Like you wouldn't even get there. You are not, the earthly realm, like material beings and forms are not meant for that spacious existence. So we wouldn't even make it there to like what would happen to us. They're like, okay, like pieces of you, like all these little like frozen, disintegrated, dusty pieces of you could like forever spin in a black hole. But they're saying like it's non-existent, like it's not, they're like it's like non-existent, it's like not, it's like both like not possible but like not totally impossible. Like they're like these little tiny dusty they're like measures. I don't know why they're saying the word measures. Dust measures. These microscopic pieces of you could potentially, but generally it's like you can't even get there. You can't even get there. What happens to time in a black hole? What happens to time in a black hole? There's no information on it. They're saying like repeating, looping, like this like never ending looping, like it is like completely non-linear. It is total spiraling. Repeating, like this spiraling, this non-stop spiraling. They're like, it's dizzying. Like when you really want to think about the experience of a black hole, they're saying it's dizzying. It's pulling and dizzying. And generally, like they're like, it's generally non-existent for you. Like these are like completely different elements, completely different realms. So in general, they're just like, this is non-existent to you. Like it is of existence, but not like a shared existence. Like there is information of it all, but we can't be in the same place or space to have the experience of it. They're like never, ever as human beings. Like you can study, you can research it, you can read about it, you can have your theories and your ideas, you can play around. They're like, you can throw your, they're like your electronics and your technology and try and like get sensors and throw them into it, but they're almost like, what's the point? Like these elements are just so very different. It's very different than this earthly realm. So even they're showing like you try and put like technology through that, and same kind of idea of like the elements are so powerful in contrast, and it's like freeze, shatter into like millions of pieces anyway. Like they're like never to be seen again kind of thing. So what happens to space if you go into a black hole? What happens to space? What happens to space in a black hole? Shrinking. It's almost the sense of like sucking the air out of you, like sucking everything super tight and like twisting it. And it's like, I don't know. That's what they're showing. They're like extra tension, like extreme tension and twisting. But again, they're saying like the elements are very different. Like, we don't have the comprehension, we don't have the vocabulary or the words that can express that experience. Sorry. What happens to space? Again, one more time, if you go into a black hole, what happens to space again? They're just saying shrinking. Like, think of like saran wrap. But they're like, not plastic, but like that feeling. What's the most important message we need to know about black holes? What's the most important message we need to know about black holes? Formation of energetic fields a collaboration, a combination of elements from space, air, and the sky. And they're like, that's important to you, if that's important to you. Can you guys go into that a little bit more? There's a little bit of like, I don't know, like a questioning about our obsession and curiosity about things like black holes. Because they're like, in general, like in our world, they're non-existent. It's not very important. It's not important. Why are you guys saying that to us? What's the most important message you need to know about black holes? They're just saying it's not very important to you. It's not very important to your form in your field, your material world. They're like academic, kind of like for that, study, research, okay. But there's just this feeling of like, they're like, there's so much more, they're saying there's so much more to learn about like the earth realm, where you are, like where you're from. There's so much more that's like so very interesting. It's almost this sense of like, they're like, as humans and like our ideas, our innovation, our research and studying, they're almost like we skipped some very important things to dive deeper into like the earth realm. And they're like, you guys look up into space, like you guys look into these other planets and galaxies, and they're like Mars and all these things. And they're almost like, they're almost like punching us back down into earth. They're just like, do you know where you are? Like, do you know how very interesting Earth is as a planet? There's like, we skipped. They're like marveling at our world and the mysteries and the unknowns of all the different species and creatures and the elements. They're like Mother Nature, Gaia. Like, there is so much encapsulated in this Earth life that there's like, they're like, stop looking into space. Like, like get back down there, like get into here. Like, what about all the really cool forces and elements of Earth, the things that we've discovered over centuries, like they're like ancient myths, ancient mythology. Like where are there remnants, or where's there evidence of something like that? Like, where does that come from? They're just like, you're in this marvelous world, and there seems to be like this skipping over, exploring all the unknowns and mysteries and force fields on Earth, in the earthly realm. So they're laughing, but they're also like, get very serious about your focus. They're like, while you are human beings on Earth, your goals need to be, they're saying, tempered. Almost like kept in, brought into the reality of where you are currently now. There's so much here. There's an overflow of really cool things to explore and experiment and research and study here in this world. They're like, that's why you are there now. Like, you're here to get this magnifying glass on the earth realm. You're in it. And they're like, microscopic, macroscopic, like zoom in, zoom out, but like do it within the earth realm. Do it within this bubble. They're like, your planet, your world is very cool. there's a lot of supernatural, unknown mysteries to explore and study while you're there. And they really want to encourage us to keep our thoughts and our focus. They're saying our values and our belief systems grounded into this earth system. Because there's so much discovery, there's so much to explore, there's so much adventure to be had here within our earthly elements. And they're like, there's things in between, almost like waiting to be discovered. So they're like, focus on earth. Focus on earth. They're like, stay grounded. Stay in your world. Okay, got it. So that was the Akashic Records on black holes. I hope you enjoyed that. How did that resonate? Yeah, that was interesting. I'm gonna play that back and take it in for a second time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.